single hedge fund has been trying to use AI for years to try to beat the markets, and there's only like 4 or 5 firms that have been able to do it. There's the high frequency trading firms and the algorithmic trading firms. Some of them have been able to do it just off of having like a small arbitrage strategy, which is like you're moving billions of dollars, and so you can just do these little like hacks, and they're not even a trading strategy, I would call them. I would just say they're more of like an arbitrage hack, where you like found a small little glitch, and then you're just able to take advantage of the glitch en masse. If we were to do it, we don't have enough volume for it to even be profitable. But like Renaissance Technologies, RIP to Jim Simons, one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, only second to Bridgewater and Associates. We're talking about like publicly known hedge funds, specifically US. A bunch of math PhDs got together. They cracked the markets. They built a machine that can trade for them and make a shit ton of money. And it made something like 25% compounded returns year over year on billions. Billions, people. If you put $100 into Renaissance when they started, in 20 years, you would have had something like $1 billion in equity. It's insane. So long story short, algos, ChatGPT, all this stuff, large language models that can do really complex analysis, they can help you refine your strategy. I'm actually using ChatGPT to feed it data on the existing trades we have, to feed it the data from the strategy testing that we're doing, to try to get a more accurate read on the strategy itself. Dude, we're hitting God mode with this thing. It's like it's unbelievable. Anyways, will it take a trader's job? No, because every high frequency trading fund, those ones that do those millions of transactions, small, but they're doing it with big volume. Most of those guys, they're not performing better than just like buying the S&P 500 index and holding it. Like most passive investors are outperforming hedge funds. Hedge funds cannot beat the market. They suck. Like if you are a profitable trader here, you're doing better than 95% of hedge funds right now. Not even just right now, in general. That's why it's more preferable to just invest in the index and hold rather than trying to beat the markets and trying to create a strategy that's going to give you greater returns than the market average. So, anyways, ChatGPT ain't taking my fucking job as a trader. Trust me, they're fucking trying. Not for a lack of them trying. They have hundreds of PhDs paying them billions of dollars a year just to be able to create a system that can stand the test of time. So I got to give a huge shout out to my friend Tyler with Gearbox. His strategy has been running for 4 years now. I've seen it up and down through COVID, through all these different market conditions, and I've seen it stand the test of time because of a good risk management system. All right. They're not trying to like blow it out the park. If someone's offering you unrealistic returns, especially when it comes to algos, run. All right. Just run. So, anyways, feel proud. Feel proud. Even music artists going to get their jobs taken before we do. It's insane. They got algos trying to take a weatherman's job. They're both just equally wrong. Same thing's going to happen with trading. You have a bunch of floor traders, they suck. You're like, I'm going to build an algo, we're going to buy an algo, and then we're going to do this thing, and we're going to replace these guys with someone better performing, and they're all trash because markets are tough, especially for a mathematical large language model, which runs on absolutes. Mandy, yes, we did send out emails. September 20th is the date that we're locking in. I'm actually flying down to Cartagena tomorrow. So September 20th. We're still going to do something in June in Bogota because a lot of folks are expecting us there. We're going to do an event. We're going to do trading challenge. We're going to do something pretty serious, bring in international speakers. But September 20th is going to be the big shebang. Cartagena, September 20th, FX Summit 2025. Mark your calendars. If you guys are in the States, Cartagena is a very short flight, right? Go ahead and go after this. Go look up flights to Cartagena September. It's a beautiful tourist destination. It's close enough to America. You know what I'm saying? For folks to like flying to Miami and flying to Cartagena, depending on where you are in the country, about the same. So hopefully we can bring a lot of you guys out and see everybody there. Yes, you need a passport, but you got plenty of time to go and apply for one, especially a last minute one. Make sure that you guys do that shit early so we can all go out there and have fun. Cartagena, especially during September, that's a pretty good price point. Way cheaper prices than June. That's kind of one of our considerations here is we're thinking about trying to bring everybody from Latin America. And like, dude, Cartagena is pretty expensive compared to other Latin American cities. However, compared to America, pretty cheap. We found September was that range where, dude, you can afford, anyone can afford it. It's worth the flight to get out there, and we can do something miraculous out there because Miami's expensive, right? Doing VIP events in Miami, if you guys have come to the FX summits before, the Seafair Mega Yacht and like a whole like the Fogo de Chao in South Beach or like the biggest mega yacht in Dubai, like all these different things in Dubai and Miami, pretty fucking expensive, if I might add. Cartagena is still expensive, but a lot more reasonable. The prices of even the tickets is going to be more reasonable. The upgrades are going to be more reasonable. So this is a chance for everyone to come and really experience FX Summit for a good price point and really just get that full experience. I want to see y'all out there, man. Don't flake. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, welcome back. Trump has broken the silence on Russia. He's also announced $175 billion investment into a golden dome for America. I wonder what other defense system around the world is a missile defense air system that creates kind of a force field that's called a dome. Somebody has this. Somebody has it somewhere. Oh yeah, Israel. Said they call it the Iron Dome. He's like, iron? No, nobody want iron. Gold. Oh, gold is awesome. Gold dome. It's better. It's like yours, but better. That's Trump's whole shtick. And so he just announced that 175 billion. Look, if we're gonna increase the defense budget by anything, do we need to like sell all? This is really the playbook, by the way, for a lot of the defense kind of like swamp is take all our old equipment, sell it to a bunch of terrorists somewhere to basically back them in a proxy war that we're trying to back, give it to our allies, kind of like hand-me-down equipment, and then use all that revenue to be able to replenish our military's equipment by paying Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics a shit ton of money to create new technologies for our troops and then just keep that money recycling over and over into independent contractors and whatnot. Um, an Iron Dome is way better. This is like a multi-generational defense system that if we get attacked with intercontinental ballistic missiles, which means that they can go from another continent over here, which right now, not as possible as people think. We have intercontinental ballistic missiles for sure, but, and this is like my whole issue, by the way, is like Iran doesn't have the payload delivery systems to get across the fucking ocean. They're not a threat to us. They can't get here. It's tough. It's really fucking tough. But creating an intercontinental ballistic missile system, I think, is probably the safest and best bet. The fact that we don't already have one is a little concerning, but apparently Trump said it's going to get done before the end of his administration. Now, China comes out of nowhere and says, we advise America not to build this Iron Dome system or this Golden Dome system. Motherfucker, let me tell you guys something. If China is telling America that's something they probably shouldn't do, it's probably the right thing to do. And why the fuck would, like, your ops are telling you, no, you don't need to have a home defense system and alarm. The burglars come and knock on the door, they go door to door, and they're like, you guys are doing AVAS security or whatever the fuck the security thing is called, the alarm systems at the house. They're like, no, don't do that. It's a horrible idea. They go do a press conference. We think it's a horrible idea for them to have a defense system on their house. You'll be like, what the fuck? Should I listen to the burglars? No. That's probably a good sign that you should build it. Okay. Market did close below TP1 just to give you guys an update on this trade. Typically, not a good sign. So we kind of went through what a continuation looks like yesterday. I told you guys we had the closure above, and then we have a low established. If we break this higher low right here, okay, we could come down for a double bottom wick. That's a little bit less likely in this scenario where we're coming back in for a retest of that zone. If we don't hold this higher low right here, there's a very good chance that we're going to close under. Now, if we close under, then we're probably heading to the downside. There's probably a 70-80% shot that this thing is going to continue bearish. So this line of defense right here is what we are looking for, is what we are watching. So while I'm going to sit here and let Trump talk, and I'm going to kind of play some of these videos, that's exactly what we're looking for. 50% retest of this candle. If it cannot hold that support and instead closes below this kind of daily low, then sellers have control. It will keep bleeding. If it does hold this 50% support and then respects this higher low, then we're going to continue to the upside. Make sense? It's an if-then scenario. Very straightforward stuff. Okay, let's get into some announcements first. Russia, Trump, Ukraine. There were some updates. This was the most like sad and fucking useless update, but still worth listening to. It's the president. Yeah, let me buy a Honda because they interrupted my video trying to watch Trump. That's how this works.
Announcement on U.S. missile defense technology that aims to keep Americans safe here at home, building on our defenses against adversaries like North Korea, Russia, and China.
This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world, and even if they are launched from space.
The president there saying the Golden Dome will be completed in 3 years. He wants it done before the end of his term. And it's a multi-billion-dollar program directed.
175 billion, which is coincidentally less than what they've increased the defense budget this year in the big, beautiful bill, which the next video that we make, we haven't dropped like an actual video in a while. We've been doing live streams mostly here on this channel. The next video I make is going to be called Trump's Big Beautiful Bill, the Scam. Dude, we're getting fucked. We are getting lied to. 75,000 deportations instead of the millions. We got an increase in the spending. All the Doge cuts that they made, they cut like they cut attorneys from the Department of Justice and Department of Defense. Like, that's not what we need. What we need is the grift and the scam and like the fucking waste, fraud, and abuse to go. So then all of that basically was a fucking scam. They increased the budget. So now we have a $2 trillion spending bill that's sitting there. It's going to increase the deficit by trillions. This is a scam. The only thing is that in the big, beautiful bill, all the tax promises that were made, no tax on Social Security, no taxes on tips, and no taxes on overtime, those have a direct impact on folks. Like, anybody here that's worked overtime, you know you're already getting 1.5 times pay. And if you were to pocket all that money without paying tax on it, my God, that would change everyone's life. Now imagine how many more of us would have taken or would take what's it called? Overtime. If I'm not paying taxes on it, I'm getting paid 1.5 times my salary. I'm gonna do a 2-year promise to myself. Between now and the end of Trump's administration, I'm going to take as many overtime shifts as I can. I'm going to take all that fucking money and then invest it all. And that is how you're going to basically secure your future. That's awesome. Social Security. Dude, imagine just taking half of every fucking check that these folks need, and they're already living on dirt. Their property taxes going up, the grocery bills are going up, traveling is more expensive. Home care is more expensive. They're still getting that security check, the Social Security check, the same it was. But now, no tax on it, we can actually take care of our old people. Like, these are game-changing things. And I really couldn't be happier because these are the folks that really need the help. Also, there's a lot of tax exemptions and tax write-offs. You can write off your vehicle and things like that if you make under 400K, which is probably most people listening to this stream. So there's a lot of genuinely good benefits in here, but then they'll cram in the shit. They'll cram in all the waste and the fraud and the abuse and the nepotism and all of the corruption into this bill. They'll be like, oh, you guys don't want to vote for the Social Security tax cuts? Do you hate old people? No, bitch, I don't want to fund Nicaraguan line dancing. No more line dancing. No Congo lines. And they're like, oh, you hate old people? That's how they do it in politics in America.
Toward protecting Americans from new weapon technologies, specifically cruise and hypersonic missiles. Also, nuclear drones were mentioned as well. From where I want to bring in our ABC News senior Pentagon reporter, Louis Martinez. And I think, Louis, there's a lot of questions here of, are our missile defense systems not up to par as they are? And we heard General Gutlein, who is now responsible for this, say that our adversaries are not only capable, but they're growing in intent. But still, the question was asked, does the defense secretary and the Department of Defense want this?
That's a really good question, Kana, and that's something that's been asked repeatedly since President Trump came up with this back in January when he issued an executive order. One of the things that we should recall is that the United States does have an existing system to protect against North Korean ICBMs, but the question has been raised, does the United States need to expand that further? Why does the United States need something larger? Let's take a listen to what our ABC's Karen Travers asked the president specifically on this right now.
President, you had mentioned at the beginning of your remarks that this was a campaign promise of yours. Have military commanders asked for this system specifically? Because NORAD had said previously that the current system was adequate. So what does this get the United States
Somebody said
is it
current
already
system is
in
adequate.
before?
There really is no current system. We have certain areas of missiles and certain missile defense, but there's no system. We just have some very capable weapons that hopefully we never have to use, but we have some very capable weapons. No, this is a different league.
So you hear the president say at the very end there, this is a different league. What he's talking about is that the United States has an existing system, about 60 ground-based interceptors based in California and in Alaska that are designed specifically to counteract and intercept any North Korean ICBMs. But when he says this is a different league, he's talking about Russia and China. Both of those countries are greatly expanding, significantly expanding their capabilities in terms of the number of ICBMs that they're building. And most importantly, when it comes to hypersonic technologies, these are missiles that can maneuver. And if they carry a nuclear weapon, a nuclear warhead, that means they might be able to evade any existing systems, including that more limited system that's designed against North Korea. So that's what the president is talking about when he says it's in a different league. But he's laid out a very, very ambitious timetable, Kana, to try to get what he says, make it operational within 3 years. Maybe what he means is getting initial operating capability within 3 years. But there's a big difference when we talk about that here at the Pentagon.
Oh, right. What does initial mean? I know they're concerned about these missiles being able to navigate around the radar that we currently have. And not only is the timeline ambitious.
I'm going to kind of give you guys like a quick rundown here, which is the Israeli defense system is pretty good, but all these smaller groups that they're beefing with have kind of found ways around. That's how they just recently bombed the airport in Israel, the Ben Gurion airport. The missiles got across the dome. So I'll give you guys like a brief example for the Houthis. So the Houthis kind of found a little like chink in our armor where every like they would send out drones and then we would have these like seeking missiles that would be able to take down these drone attacks. Now each missile that we deployed was $2 million. That's how much it cost the US. But they were sending $40,000 drones up. And so for $1 million, let's just round up to 50. You can send out 20, let's round up to $50,000 per drone that the Houthis were sending. You could send up 20 drones for every one defense missile. And so what you could do is you might not win, they might not get through, but you're going to deplete the capability or just deplete the financial resources of whoever you're facing with a 20-to-1 spend. And so that's kind of like the thing where you can overwhelm the defense systems with very cheap drone technologies. And obviously, I think they're looking at the capabilities of the Iron Dome and just asking themselves, what are the weaknesses? They have Lockheed Martin and other groups working on the technology aspect, and hopefully they're going to make those improvements and adjustments to the dome's capability. But that's a big chink in the armor. And this is kind of like modern warfare where, dude, if you can't beat them head on, then you have to get smart. And they are getting smart. So trade still holding, stop still in BE. And let's see if we get a break back above TP1 for at least one more push to the upside. I'll be fully out of the trade if we clear that zone. Or if it hits break even, so be it, walk away with some profits.
But I think perhaps the money that he laid out for us. So we know that there's $25 billion for the Golden Dome that's already in what he calls his big, beautiful bill that's being debated within the House right now. But he thinks, Louis, it'll cost, what, $175
Mandy, it'll be September 19th to the 21st. So it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
billion in total?
Yes, that's the number that he laid out. It's 175 billion. And we heard one of the senators who was in there in the Oval Office talking about how this wasn't a down payment on the system. And I think that's an accurate way of characterizing it because you're going to need to start to develop it.
Okay, leave it to ABC News to just have everything except for. Let's do this.
Hey, Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank. I'm a huge.
I don't trust this dude as far as I can throw him. I don't trust any of the Shark Tank people, by the way. Probably a very appropriate name.
Families posthumously held in the same position as having made.
Today? No, I think it would be maybe helpful. There's tremendous bitterness, anger, and I think maybe that could help.
A role potentially in meeting.
I'm just
About
going
that, yes.
to make sure we get to the right spot here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Call with President Putin today.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned that the Pope would like to take a role potentially in mediating these talks. Does that mean the U.S. is taking a step back from?
No. I think it would be great to have it at the Vatican. Maybe it would have some extra significance.
See, this is again what bothers me about Trump is he doesn't actually know about foreign policy. He doesn't actually know about geopolitical relations. Russian Orthodox Church, right? The Catholic Church. It's kind of like Saudi versus Iran. If you're from the outside, you're looking at it, you'll be like, oh, Muslim. No, they're all the same. And then you realize that's the real beef that's happening in the Middle East. It's the Shia regimes and the Sunni sort of dominance that's in the region. So you have the Russian Orthodox Church trying to keep the principles, trying to avoid the Western corruption of their society. And then you have this new Catholic Church, and the Pope is American. They're sort of like, I just don't think that's a good mediator. Let's go to Switzerland. Let's go to Turkey. Let's go to Switzerland. Go to Switzerland. Geneva, right? Middlemen. But no. He'll just be like, oh, Pope, very important guy. It'd be awesome. Let's do it at the Vatican. It's a nice place.
And I saw that it was
Which works.
discussed yesterday, so I thought, and people told me that they'd be
I'm voting on Sellers kind of taking the cake here, but we'll see.
honored to do it. I would imagine they would be. And so, no, I think it would be maybe helpful. There's tremendous bitterness, anger, and I think maybe that could help some of that anger. So having it at the Vatican would be, in Rome, would be I think it'd be a great idea. Thank you.
Mr. President, as you know,
Go ahead.
Mr. President, as you know, 2.5 months ago, Ukraine President Zelensky agreed to that 30-day ceasefire that's been on the table all of that time. What was the extent of your conversation with President Putin today about having him agree to that same 30-day ceasefire proposal that you, Mr. President, put on the table?
Well, what we've done, and very strongly, is we said, let's get this thing going. You know, I had many of the leaders of European nations on the line with me right after the call. And we have to get that thing solved. 5,000 young people every single week on average. And I've seen satellite pictures. You don't want to see these pictures. We'll have to see what happens. This was not my war. This is not a war that would have happened if I were president. This is not my war. I'm just here to try and help. We've spent hundreds of billions of dollars on this war. And yet that's not, frankly, we made much more than that just in 4 days in the Middle East. It's a lot of money, but we do much. This is about thousands of people dying every single week. 5,000, 6,000 people dying every single week. And just like you have the relatives here, wives and children and everything, you have, these soldiers, they say goodbye in Ukraine and in Russia. And then their parents never see them again, except maybe in pictures of horrible scenes, because I've seen some scenes I've never seen anything like it. So we're going to see if we can get it taken care of.
All right, it's looking pretty good so far. This is the higher lows that we're talking about. However, we're going to get pretty accurate here. Here's the low. We're holding. We're holding that higher low. Let's see. If we drew a fib from bottom to top, this is like super surgical entry. This would be the last line of defense right here. So we either get a double bottom or sort of 88.6. That's going to be the last line of defense. I'll go ahead and remove the fib, get back up on the higher time frames, and we got a pretty good zone here. So this, the kind of thicker black line, I'm going to put this thing as kind of noticeable as we can here. Okay. That black zone right here. So if we hold this current line of support and we just break above, fill the last 1, 2, 3 15-minute candles, these previous 3 candles, we break above, have a bullish engulfing, then we're headed up to TP2. If the market can't seem to break above that TP1, that 61 fib, if we just kind of get stuck here with resistance, then it's going to act as resistance and we're going to see it do an equal size drop. Most likely this drop right here, we'll see an equal size drop to the bottom. This is what we refer to in technical analysis as an A to B, C to D pattern. Let's see if I can do, they probably have a tool here for A, B, C, D, don't they? I know TradingView. Oh, wait. X, A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. First point, second point, third point. The extension should be, man, fuck this. I'm gonna do this the old-fashioned way. All right, I'm gonna take one of these lines, and then I'm just gonna copy and paste this thing down. All right. Now, members, you guys will notice that when you do this, you should always verify that zone. So, okay, I just drew a random line. Where is that line? Members, if you guys are on the Zoom, if I drew my fib from the Model 3 low to the high, this line would put us at what fib? Now, that's a little bit of a tough question here, but we got this and this. What fib would this be? From this low to this high. Anybody? If the YouTube people get it before y'all do, I'm ending the stream. Thank the Lord himself. Thank you, Devaney. But I just gave out some fucking game. I told you the A to B, C to D, you just measure a random line, and then all of a sudden it lines up exactly with the 88 fib at the bottom. That's a fucking little, that's a little hack for y'all. That's inside of baseball. I don't just give that out anywhere. Anyways. So let's play this thing out. Let's see if it holds or not. I vote probably sellers will win.
Law enforcement who are here, and our condolences to the families. We're very sorry for.
Because people, we wouldn't.
All right, this is not the video I was looking for. Trump, Russia, Ukraine. Trump, Russia, Ukraine.
If you have a 700 plus.
Chase is doing no, not this motherfucker again. I don't want to hear pundits talking about stuff. It's 2025. I want to just hear from Trump, for fuck's sake. I can make up my own mind. I definitely don't need these cucks to tell me what to do or to tell me what to think about a specific instance. Let's go. Let's just see Trump news. It's always something. The president of South Africa. Pretty important. They're going through some stuff. What else? There's a lot of stuff that's happening, if I'll be honest. There are a lot of hearings happening in the House. Marco Rubio is in front of the Senate and the House last few days. So let's go to Forex Factory. Let's see if there's any speakers real quick before we finish up here with Trump. We have G7 meetings all day. We're probably going to get those a lot later. FOMC member Barkin speaks. That's 12:15. That already happened. Nope. Okay. No emergency speakers. Budget bill. Okay, so Trump tries to go down to Capitol Hill yesterday to put pressure on the congressmen who are denying to pass the big beautiful bill, and I'm on their side. Every single congressman that voted against the big beautiful bill, I respect you. Hold the fucking ground. I know Trump doesn't come down to Capitol Hill often, and he did that because he was trying to prove that, like, I will run against all of you congressmen. I'll put our own candidates against you guys and back them if you don't sign this bill. He's trying to put real pressure on him. But this bill does not help us. This bill does not help Americans, and it sure as fuck is not what MAGA voted for. By increasing the spending, increasing the deficit, putting us more in debt, increasing the interest payments every year on that debt, we're supposed to be reducing spending. Not Number one, increasing defense spending and increasing other entitlement spendings, while at the same time giving tax cuts, which I appreciate. I love the tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. But if those tax cuts are not funded by something else, if there's nothing to replenish those, we're just going to go deeper into the fucking hole. Now, Trump is an individual that has used the debt system in America to get rich, and most ultra wealthy understand the debt system. But the debt system really only fucking works for the rich, where you can pledge collateral, get loans in equal value or close to the value of that collateral. So like Elon Musk doesn't get a salary. Well, he does in certain parts, but he gets, if he needs money, he doesn't sell Tesla stock. He'll go to JP Morgan, he'll pledge his Tesla stock as collateral, like let's say $1 billion. They'll give him a loan for 500 mil. And debt is non-taxable in this country. And so he basically gets the 500 million without initiating a taxable event. When you sell a shit ton of stock, you just initiated a taxable event, meaning that you now owe taxes on the profits of the billion, which if it's short-term capital gains, okay, if it's long-term capital gains, could be 15%, 20%. You want to pull $1 billion from your Tesla stock, they're going to take 200 mil off the top. Now, if you're a billionaire, you pledge the $1 billion. By the way, this is kind of the play for our generation. You buy Bitcoin, okay? And then you never sell the fucking Bitcoin, ever, for your grandkids. But now you can pledge the Bitcoin as collateral, get debt, get loans, and that money that you get is non-taxable because it's debt. Debt is tax-free. So, I mean, consult a licensed tax professional. It's not tax advice, etc. So a lot of these tax changes and a lot of the tax advantages that are in this big, beautiful bill, most average Americans won't know how to take advantage or be able to take advantage. Writing off your car, deducting the depreciating expense. What the fuck, bro? Okay. And so Trump, I don't think, has an issue understanding that like the government can print money, put us in debt, but then we can finance things that are gonna make us money. So if you take the loan, if Elon takes the loan and then goes and fucks all the money off, then he still owes that money. But then he has the Tesla stock, which goes up in value, and he'll be able to make up for it. If he takes the 500 mil and goes starts a company like let's say SpaceX, and then that is making us money, that was a very productive use of debt. It's called productive debt. And so Trump is kind of playing that game where it's like, yeah, I understand that we're going to have to print some of this money, but we're putting it towards shit that's going to make us a lot of money, so it'll make up for itself. It's a gamble. It's a gamble, but we are way too deep. We're looking over the edge of bankruptcy. We're looking over the edge of insolvency and saying, let's keep going. Let's take a risk. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a fucking billionaire. Clearly, he might have this shit figured out better than I do, right? Maybe this productive debt cycle is the only way to get out of this, this deficit cycle that we're in, where we're just brokies, spending way too much, using our credit card. Getting a business loan and using a credit card are two different things. Okay, I think that is the biggest distinction here. Trump is more like getting a business loan on top of the fact that you have all your credit cards maxed out, everything maxed out. This is a gamble. And if there's anyone that can pull it off, it's Trump. But I hope you guys understand. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys understand the dynamic here between we're in a bad kind of debt now, where we've printed way too much money, like credit card debt. We used up way too much money we don't have to put it towards shit we can't afford. And now we're fucked. So we're like, our interest payment every month is fucked. We're literally just in a fucked situation. Now, on the flip side, if we go get a business loan and there's one guy that will give us a business loan and we can pull this off, we can pay off kind of the rest of the debt and we can be in a good spot. This is the one fell swoop. Would you take that gamble? Pretty tough bet. Okay. I want to give someone else a chance to say it. JLP, thank you. JLP is the kid in the front of the class answering all the questions to everybody. It was like, oh, thank God somebody answered it. You trade on Ninja or Tradeovate? All the above. Jamie Dimon urges U.S. to engage with China. Of course he does. This better be just Trump speaking. Bro, I'm sick and tired of hearing everybody else comment on Trump.
Thank you very much, and thank you
Okay, here we
for
go.
being here in the Oval Office.
By the way, the
Great
88.6
places
zone
of
on the smaller time frame, sorry, the 88.6 zone on the smaller time frame that we drew, look at the rejection. It's not a convincing rejection. but it's a rejection nonetheless. Okay, 1 minute time frame, you would have dealt with probably 2 points of drawdown. Isn't that insane? Isn't this strategy fucking crazy? Like this scalp right here could have been somebody's entire weekly fucking paycheck. Perfect entry zone, called in advance, casually. Ooh, ugh. Yeah. I'm gonna start talking my shit, by the way, people, because clearly nobody else is gonna do it for me. Clearly, we don't have that swell of support. But if I had discovered this strategy when I first started trading, I'd be foaming at the mouth every day talking about it. But since nobody's going to, if you don't support yourself, no one will. Let this be a lesson to you. All right. Definitely slapped the shit out of my break even. And so now I'm watching this trade without any skin in the game. However, I did walk away with profits and I'm good. I hit another day, made the minimum required amount to get this payout, and we're cruising.
As we make a historic announcement about the Golden Dome.
Devaney took the 1 minute entry. Let me get a tissue. Devaney, I'm so proud of you. And who was it? Jonathan? Whoever called that 1 minute entry yesterday? No, it was John Jay. You guys are newer to the strategy than a lot of other folks, but you're catching all the smaller moves. You're catching every one of these trades. Proud of you. Don't overtrade though. Use your risk management. Do the math, right? Because once you start seeing all the entries on every time frame, it gets very hard to pull yourself away. But you're not always in the right mental state to take advantage. So make sure you know when to stop. Big key.
Missile defense shield, that's something we want. And Ronald Reagan wanted it many years ago, but they didn't have the technology. But it's something we're going to have. We're going to have it at the highest level. I want to thank Secretary Hegseth, who's been fantastic, and Secretary Rubio, and Space Force Vice Chief of Space Operations, General Mike Gutlein.
They tried to clown Trump when he was talking about Space Force. Do you guys remember that? Think about the fucking hubris it would take to not realize that we have the capacity for intercontinental ballistic missiles. We have the capacity for drone strikes from satellite drone strikes, where you don't need the payload delivery to be intercontinental. You can actually drop it from a satellite going around with perfect geolocation. And so, like, to not think that we needed a space force, which is something that outside of the stratosphere, there's going to be competitive advantages from different countries. Right now, Elon Musk is sending up like, I don't know, it's like thousands of satellites a week. But then you have to think other countries are trying to do the same. Now, what happens if these satellites have either defensive or offensive capabilities? Do we have a defense system up there, or should we cross that bridge when we get there and have a 2-year program or like a memorandum on when we should go and start defending ourselves in space? No. Why the fuck do we have to? You don't need to go in a space race if you're proactive. We're trying to be proactive instead of reactive. They clowned the fuck out of Trump for the Space Force thing. They're like, this guy really thinks we need a Space Force? Like, what does he think? This is Star Wars or whatever? Those people literally couldn't tell you what satellites are in space, who's got capabilities where, what would happen if they drop a bomb. These are just people fucking retarded. And they just like all attack the shit out of Trump. This is why I have the benefit of the doubt theory now with Trump. First, never take anything he says at face value. Take it seriously, but don't take it literally. Huh? Take it seriously, don't take it literally. And I always have the 24-hour, 48-hour rule. Whenever he says some wild ass shit, wait, see if it's real. He really could just be chatting shit. But then there's a third layer here, which is actually like a lot more serious. Is this is a little bit more understandable, but let's say like his strategy to negotiate with Ukraine, Russia. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna let you play this out because you clearly have some information that you're not telling us just yet. And with imperfect info, I'm gonna be jumping to conclusions. I trust Trump enough right now to let him play this whole thing out. And so I'm just kind of in a wait and see. Then there's some other shit like the big, beautiful bill that I just know he's wrong on. Okay? So take him seriously. Don't take him literally. Do the 48-hour rule. Don't just jump to conclusions and assume that he means every fucking thing. Let's see if it's actually a real policy or if he's just trying to like kind of not muddy the waters, but sort of put his own pressure on the sentiment to kind of get what he wants. And then the other one is if it's a serious thing and they're in negotiations and he's not giving us perfect information, then wait it out because he has a plan in the background. And then when you know he's fucking wrong because it's a topic that you are very intimate with, like you have an intimate knowledge of that thing. Let's say if he was talking about sports and you're like really, really into the sports and you know he's just dead wrong. That's when you can be like, that's when you can confidently say like, yeah, no, he's wrong on this. Okay. But most of the Trump derangement crowd, they jump straight to the, oh, he has to be wrong on this because there's no way Orange Man could possibly be right while these people are broke, unhappy, stupid, and ignorant. It's like you don't have nothing working out or figured out, and somehow you think that you're smarter than the people who are in charge of you. If these people are so fucking dumb, how come they're in charge of you? Answer me that. So maybe you ain't as smart as you fucking think you are. Huh? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
I want to recognize Senators Dan Sullivan, Kevin Kramer, and Jim Banks, fantastic senators, great talents, great political talents, and people that love our country. In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And that's what we're doing. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the...
Sorry, one last thing here I'm actually going to play out like 10, 15 minutes. It's going to be hard for me not to comment on Trump, but I'll do my best. This 88.6 trade, we have TP1 that already got hit. TP2 is at the top of this range, 21,330. But keep in mind, the higher time frame, the daily 88.6, the one that we just kind of went over, Devaney sent her homework. It was on the daily chart. You had the 3-day chart, which honestly not a bad idea because you don't need to see all the days. I don't want a full week, but 3 days, pretty good chart. I don't know. We'll look into that later. There's a daily time frame 88.6 sitting just at the top, like right above this current range that we're in. Here's the current range. And so there's an area of liquidity sitting right above it, just begging to get smacked up. And so what I think will happen is if this buy does fully play out to TP3, I would love to see everybody who's been selling at this triple top zone right here. We've seen a lot of resistance. They think that this is going to be the major drop. I want to see all those stops, all the break evens get clapped up. Liquidity grab to the upside, big liquidity induction, and then whoop, back to the downside for the real sell trade. Okay? This is really what I'm banking on. I'm going to be taking that short once we get up to the higher time frames. Or once we get up above the higher time frame resistance, and it will go up to the higher time frames and look for that shorting opportunity.
The land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to...
I lied. One last announcement. We have our weekly webinar tonight, every single Wednesday, teaching you guys how to trade for free. If you don't have money, or you do have money, but you're not sure if you really want to get into a new strategy or what trading NASDAQ entails, or if this thing could work for you, this is the one-stop shop. You're going to get all the questions answered every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Register in the link in the description. Do it right now. While I'm letting this video play, it takes just your name and your email. Register for the class tonight. Even if you don't think you can make it, get your name in the hat. This thing could really change your life because it's changing a lot of our members' lives, and you could be next. Or you could be left behind. It's up to you.
To them, they want to have protection also. So as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they're launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built. As you know, we helped Israel with theirs and it was very successful. And now we have technology that's even far advanced from that, but including hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and advanced cruise missiles. All of them will be knocked out of the air. We will truly be completing the job that President Reagan started 40 years ago, forever ending the missile threat to the American homeland. And the success rate is very close to 100%, which is incredible when you think of it, you're shooting bullets out of the air. I'm also pleased to report that the one big, beautiful bill will include $25 billion for the Golden Dome to help construction get underway. That's the initial sort of a down deposit. And we have probably, you're talking about General, we're talking about $175 billion total cost of this when it's completed. This afternoon, I'm also announcing that I will appoint, very importantly, General Gutlein to lead the ambitious new effort as the direct reporting program manager for the Golden Dome. Very talented man, and I'm very honored to have been the one that helped to have really created Space Force. Space Force has turned out to be a tremendous success. We were third in space, and now we're number one in space by a lot. It's not even close. And Mike is a four-star Space Force general, the recipient of the Defense Distinguished Service Medal, one of the most respected people in the world having to do with defense. You know, we have offense and we have defense. I'll bet he's good at offense. And he has an unmatched background in missile warning technology and defense procurement. General Gutlein also knows that we need to move fast. No one is more qualified for his job. And everybody, this was a universal acceptance of General Gutlein. Everybody that knows him and knows everybody else, they said there's only one man for the job. So I have a feeling we have the right guy. But now I'd like to invite Secretary Hegseth and the General to please say a few words and describe the system a little bit. And we appreciate you being here. The press has really been very fair over the last period of a couple of months. I don't know what happened to you. It was so much more exciting the other way, but you've been very, very fair. We have very high poll numbers, the highest we've ever had. And I think we're doing a great job. We had a tremendous trip to the Middle East, as you know. It was a really amazing trip. And now I came home, and this is the one I was really looking forward to this day, because this is very important for the success and even survival of our country. It's a pretty evil world out there. So this is something that goes a long way toward the survival of this great country. And as I said, we'll be discussing Canada. They want to hook in and they want to see if they can be a part of it. That sort of makes sense. I guess that's what I was talking about from day one, you know, it just automatically makes sense. And it won't be very difficult to do, but they'll pay their fair share. Thank you very much, everybody. And Pete, go ahead.
Well, Mr. President, add this to the long and growing list of promises made and promises kept. Ultimately, this right here, the Golden Dome for America, is game changer. It's a generational investment in the security of America and Americans. Mr. President, you said we're to secure our southern border and get 100% operational control after the previous administration allowed an invasion of people into our country.
I said I wouldn't be able to avoid cutting them off. Yeah. Okay, well, we did our own version of promises made, promises kept, didn't we? Didn't we, huh? And if you go to Chart Addict's websites, go to the analysis tab. We give out some free analysis. I'm going to show you guys. Trump's big, beautiful bill exposed. Promises of the fiscal discipline. All right, let's look at promises made and promises kept, shall we? Promises versus reality in Trump's bill. Isn't it crazy when you do your own research and you do your own analysis, how much you start to realize the lies and propaganda? I split this up by category. So let's look at the federal budget deficit. Their promise was to slash the deficit through deep spending cuts. What this bill actually does is it increases the deficit with permanent tax cuts and no offset of those. So the change in spending is we're going to be adding $2 trillion. The national debt, their promise was to begin reducing the 30+ trillion national debt. What they actually did, the debt is continuing to rise with no repayment plan. $3 trillion. Defense spending, we're supposed to audit and reduce the Pentagon waste. Pete Hegseth, right? The man who's speaking right now, the head of the Department of Defense, the head of the Pentagon. He's telling us that promises made, promises kept, right? In the defense spending, their job was to audit and reduce Pentagon waste. Right now, in this big, beautiful bill, there's an increase from $686 billion a year to over $1 trillion in defense spending. We're increasing the defense budget by $325 billion. It's a little bit less. All right. No changes to these other agencies. The IRS, Department of Energy, we're supposed to shrink and eliminate wasteful federal agencies. There's been no shutdowns. The Department of Energy and the IRS remain fully intact. Corporate welfare, no changes. They cut Medicaid and SNAP. Why? Public health and science funding. Why? Give them the same money, but just let Bhattacharya and let what's it called, RFK Jr. fund better projects. Let's cure cancer. Let's fucking cure all these diseases that we may have solutions to, but we haven't been funding programs for. Okay, balanced budget commitment. Balance the federal budget over time. There's no pathway to balancing. The deficits remain indefinite. Okay, so promises made, promises kept. We did the fucking numbers, and it ain't looking good.
President Reagan 40 years ago cast the vision for it. The technology was
Why are we still talking about Reagan?
there. Now it is, and you're following through to say we will protect the homeland from cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, drones, whether they're conventional or nuclear. It's not lost on me, sir, also that you had the vision to start the Space Force. And here we are when the others said we didn't need it. Here we are in the Oval Office with one of the leaders of the Space Force.
Biggie Smalls, you can't sign up for the VIP membership unless you graduate the masterclass. Now, there's a separate group chat that we have if you do want to get into the 99 plan, kind of get a feel for what the group chat is about, but you won't have the full capabilities until you graduate the masterclass, which I recommend everyone does.
In general,
Show up to the class tonight, and there's a little surprise. If you guys want to get into the masterclass, get a discount, show up to the webinars. That's the best place to be.
leading the charge on putting in place a game-changing Golden Dome for America. So, sir, it's an honor to be a part of this bold initiative. We're going to get to work on it. We have been since you signed that executive order on January 27th. We've been fast forward on this. We're here on this day, and this is just one stop in delivering this defense of the homeland, which is something you charged us with doing, and we'll keep going until it is complete, sir.
Thank you, Pete. Pete's doing a great job, by the way. Thank you very much. General, please.
What's today? Wednesday? Yeah, the trade from Monday. I don't know if you guys ended up seeing this. We were on a live stream on Monday. I showed this trade, the before and after. This thing fully played out. It was an absolutely gorgeous trade. And this was from the live stream. I took a screenshot. This is what the trade looked like while it was about to play out. And then now that trade fully played out, hit take profit, and we got a glorious second entry here.
President today is
And some of our members took the sells at the equal highs as well. So just beautiful,
As
beautiful.
you're
trades.
aware, adversaries have become very capable and very intent on holding the homeland at risk. While we have been focused on keeping the peace overseas, our adversaries have been quickly modernizing their nuclear forces, building out ballistic missiles capable of hosting multiple warheads.
This guy's basically trying to insinuate that Iran has capabilities for intercontinental ballistic missile capabilities, and they don't. It's like Iran's going to hit us with the nukes they don't have, and they're going to send them with the ballistic missile capabilities they don't have. And they're going to team up with the terrorist groups they're not friends with to deliver them. Don't trust those people.
Building out
We call them neocons.
hypersonic missiles capable of attacking the United States within an hour, traveling at 6,000 miles an hour, building cruise missiles that can navigate around our radar and our defenses. It's building submarines that can sneak up on our shores, and worse yet, building space weapons. It is time that we change that equation and start doubling down on the protection of the homeland. Golden Dome is a bold and aggressive approach to hurry up and protect the homeland from our adversaries. We owe it to our children and our children's children to protect them and afford them a quality of life that we have all grown up enjoying. Golden Dome will afford that. I greatly appreciate your trust in me and your nomination in me and your trust in the team to deliver this. It is a great day for America.
And also, very importantly, we're the only ones that have this, we call it super technology. Nobody else has it. And nobody else has really near what we have. So this is a very exciting project. This is something that will, the general said close to 100% protection. So that's something we need. I think it's and everything's going to be made in the USA, by the way, very importantly. So it's something that I've been looking forward to for a long time. And I just noticed you too, Jim, you're standing there, and behind you is a very important document, Declaration of Independence. And that was in the vault for many.
He never fails to mention it, which honestly is a really fucking important thing. Like if you're actually if you're a fan of American history and you genuinely love American history, like I do, getting the Declaration of Independence out from the gutters and just putting it up in the Oval Office, I think is a great move. It's a great sign of respect for the country, and it definitely is a flex point. But dude, there's not a single person that's walked into the Oval Office he hasn't mentioned that to. We know it's there. Bro, the world's at war. Focus.
decades right under this area.
He said, look at my Declaration of Independence. I remember McGregor walked into the Oval Office and he was trying to show off his suits. McGregor owns a clothing company with one of the greatest designers that's ever lived, August. What's his name? August something. And they have the August McGregor line, basically. This guy's the guy that's made like all of Tony Robbins' suits, like some of the most famous people in the world for some of the most important events in the world. And so he's in there trying to flex his suit to Trump. He's like, Trump, I will make you a special one custom for you. And he's like, yeah, look at my suit. And Trump goes, look at my Gulf of America. He's got a big poster behind him. He's like, oh, nice suit. Look at my Gulf. And it just said Gulf of America behind him. So it's like, these are like flex points. It's like, oh, you have a new jet? Awesome. Look at my country. Look at my continent. Look at this Gulf we just got. And this is like one of those things. Look at my Declaration of Independence. But we're talking about this Golden Dome.
Walls with pictures on top. You have Abraham Lincoln. You see that was the original Abraham Lincoln, the original Washington. And does everybody on the other side like?
What I want to do is I want to focus on something slightly economic for now. So I want to actually look at, let's do Jerome Powell. Or actually, you know what? I don't know if you guys remember who Neil Kashkari is. Maybe I can give you guys a quick rundown. Neil Kashkari was one of the Fed presidents. He's the president of the Minneapolis Fed. I believe he was vice chairman pre-COVID. All right, let me give you guys a quick rundown on Neil Kashkari. This is going to be, if you guys don't know shit about the Fed or you still trust the Fed or whatever it might be, let me break the bubble. Let me red pill you real quick. Neil Kashkari, 60 Minutes. A lot of people, like if you were in our world, you didn't know that the Fed was printing money. And so a lot of people were kind of had this notion that the Fed was limited in their capacity to put money into the system. They do this 60 Minutes thing, and 60 Minutes is like, what happens if the Fed runs out of money? And then Jerome Powell and Neil Kashkari, they do two separate interviews that came out the same week. They both basically look dead at the camera and they're like, that can't happen. Like, we're never going to run out of money. Like, that's stupid. And everyone's looking at them like, what the fuck are you talking about? And this is the first time that people realized the money creation theory was real. Because, guys, this is going to blow your mind. But even the majority of top economists today, like I'm talking about people who have PhDs, the people teaching at the top universities in the world, still don't know this fact, which is how is money made? How is money created? Okay? So there's three different theories of money creation. There's three different theories of how money is introduced into the system using the banks. The first one is the depository, the financial intermediary theory, which is that banks are financial intermediaries. You put your money in. Now they have deposits on hand, and then they do something with those deposits in order to generate revenues. Then what kind of was the prevailing theory like prior to this, I want to say the 90s, but really this is kind of what I learned in school from some of my professors. This is how they thought they like broke the matrix, is the fractional reserve banking model, which is that we all put in our deposits. The banks are acting as financial intermediaries, but they're also money creators where they can lend more than they have on reserves. And so there's a 5-to-1 or 10-to-1. They have $1 billion in the bank. They can lend up to $10 billion. Now, why is that important? Because when I only have $1 billion, but I loan everybody 10 billion, they got to pay me back $10 billion. That money did not exist before. I only had $1 billion of real cash in the fucking account. So that was sort of like the current idea of how money creation works. I'm a money creationist. I believe that it's the chicken or the egg thing. It's very similar to fractional reserve banking, but you have to have deposits in your bank to then lend a multiple of your deposits. The money creation theory says that they don't even have the initial money. There's nothing. It's all fluff. They initiate the debt first, $1 billion of debt. And then people pay them back the billion. Now they have deposits. The money never existed. It's a big fucking sea change from how every economist actually understands the world. Now, when you look at it that way, when you look at the money creation theory versus fractional reserve banking, you have to re-understand all history for the last 80 years. Because every funding of the war, every monetization of policy, every financialization of industry, every compartmentalization of debt, every invention of derivative instruments, all comes from this concept that money is created through fractional reserve banking by lending more than it's available. versus the money creation theory that I believe, which is that money is all fluffed out of thin air. They give it to us as debt and they enslave us to give them back real money. Real money is labor dollars. You blood, sweat, and tears, you get paid a paycheck. That's real money. That money has value. It's exchanged for something of value like labor or service. Okay? Now, the fluff money, the foo-foo money that they just invent out of thin air and give out as debt, it's not real until it's materialized. It's not real until it's paid back. Now we pay them back with real money. The bank now has cash. And then they just do the cycle over and over and over again. And it all starts with the Fed as the prime lender of first resort. Okay? So now nobody understands this shit. Neil Kashkari gets out here and he says this statement that I'm going to show you now, which I'm pretty sure they hid from everywhere. I might have to go on X to find this. Yeah, they hid that motherfucker so quick. Oh, you don't think I'm gonna fucking find this thing? You're out of your mind. Oh, I'm gonna find this thing. Please, please, please. Come on.
There are two big mistakes when I look back at 2008 that we made that I think are relevant today. Number one, the devastating.
Neil Kashkari looks dead at the camera. You guys see the look in his eyes? I fucking we used to bully the shit out of Neil on the stream. We used to call him Cash Carry. All right, because the carry cost, carryover, cash carry, these are all different kind of Fed terms where you basically give money to using these swap lines. And so we used to call him Neil Cash Carry because he looked dead in the camera and he said there was unlimited money at the Fed. This was a meme back when Twitter was Twitter.
Recession that we ended
I
up
hope
having.
it's in
So
this.
today, whether it's healthcare policy erring on the side of, so they thought. So we tried to target our programs. It ended up, we didn't help very many people. We would have been much better off if we had been much more generous in our.
Oh, infinite. Here it is.
To the person who is.
By the way, it looks like price is going to end up breaking through that support level. We're gonna hold the line here just in terms of the bias, but I'm already out, so I have no skin in the game. Just a quick update on this.
About to grab their car keys and go to the ATM and take out $3,000, you say what?
You don't need to. Your ATM is safe. Your banks are safe. There's enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do.
Yeah. Yo, conspiracy theorists are up a bag this decade. Conspiracy theorists are up a bag. I was saying this shit from the rooftops. They don't run out of money. Guys, I know everybody says that they called it and they did this and that. We have all the proof and all the receipts on our website. Go to the analysis tab and you can search up, or actually just go to fundamentals. And you can look up the articles 2020, 2021, explaining why, like when I was advocating for Bitcoin, why everyone should own Bitcoin, September 2021. Okay. The US dollar's decline in value leading to asset inflation, meaning that the Fed is going to keep printing money. Okay, so the inflation hedge, this is like the number one reason why own assets, but specifically Bitcoin, which is an inflation-resistant asset. The decline of the dollar and other central bank currencies has been obvious. The decline has been made worse by the excessive money printing activities of the Fed since COVID. As the money printing continues, we're going to see a further decline in the value of the dollar over time. This phenomenon is how the rich get richer over time. And the poor, who mostly hold cash and no assets, stay poor. The US dollar has an average inflation rate of 2%, meaning that your money is going to decline 2% in value, purchasing power, a year. So that means if you have $100 today and you held it for a year, it would only buy you $98 worth of goods the next year. A scarce asset like Bitcoin is only becomes more valuable over time versus the dollar as it loses its purchasing power. This is one of the most important articles you guys can read on our website, because anyone who's scared of Bitcoin, I went through the top 10 real concerns for Bitcoin. What if someone hacks the Bitcoin system? Bitcoin is never going to be a payment mechanism. What if governments make Bitcoin illegal? What if they print more Bitcoins? What if I lose my info, my money's lost? Bitcoin uses too much energy. What if governments make their own Bitcoins? CBDCs. Huh? My parents don't know how to use this stuff, so it's not ever going to work. Let me see. What's the biggest threat to Bitcoin? So we wrote about all this stuff, and then this video comes out and we were vindicated. Vindicated meaning that we were proven right after being called crazy for so long. There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. Infinite. Now let's do Jerome Powell. 60 minutes. This was in 2 years ago. Be 2022. Nope. Money printing. Basically, he said something about money printing. I'm trying to find the exact quote. We print money. Here it is.
Simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
It'll only be worth it when people start recognizing Bitcoin as more of a currency than the dollar? No. There's a lot of stuff that's worth more than a dollar that's not a currency. That's like, for example, one ounce of gold right now is $3,000. Gold is not recognized as more of a currency than cash, but it's still worth more. These are assets. Like your house is worth more than a dollar. You get what I'm trying to say? So between 2019 and now, if you bought your house at 300K, right now it's probably sitting about 515 or 450 or some shit like that. Massive increase. Is that because your neighborhood got that much better, that every house is now worth $150,000 more? No. The value of the currency, the value of the denominator has been destroyed. And so the unit of measure that you're using to value this property has now been devalued. And so your house looks like it's worth more on paper, which it technically is. Bitcoin will do the same because of the scarcity element, not because of the fact that it's a currency alternative. It's a scarce thing. Dollars, they keep printing more of. And so it's only ever going to be worth less if you can print it whenever and there's always more supply. The very basics of price, any value of something going up, is supply and demand. If there's more demand, a lot more people want this thing than there is available of it, the price goes up. Everyone wants a car. There's one car on the lot. That owner's going to start fucking bidding up the price because everybody wants it. Okay, price is going up. Now, if there's all these cars on the lot and nobody wants a car, they're going to start dropping the prices because the supply is higher than the demand. And so the whole thing is that because Bitcoin has a limited supply, but over time the demand will continue to go up as more people find out about Bitcoin, that's a recipe for price going up. Now, the denominating currency, like we price Bitcoin right now in dollars, which is stupid, but we do it. Because one Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin. It's worth one Bitcoin later. It's worth one Bitcoin a year from now. If you don't understand the system, that just doesn't really fucking make sense. But because we denominate Bitcoin in dollars, the value is going to continue to go up. Number one, the scarcity rule. And then number two, because of the inflationary effect. The more that you muddy the water, you dilute the value of dollars. Anything that's priced in dollars, like real estate, gold, commodities, cryptos, are going to go up over the next 10, 20, 50 years. So own assets. Yeah. So Bitcoin won't be a replacement for currency. Not at all. It's an appreciating or depreciating. It's an appreciating asset. And that's one of those questions right here. Bitcoin will never be a payment mechanism. Okay. This is partially true. Bitcoin is slow and ineffective way to transact money because it's limited to 6 to 8 transactions a second. That's the small block war. I'm really deep in the crypto shit. The small block wars versus the large block wars. There's a fork between people who thought Bitcoin should be faster and it should include more transactions a second so we can make it a thing. But the whole point, Bitcoin's value comes from it being a store of value asset, which benefits from being hard to move around. So if gold was really easy for us to move and take places, the value wouldn't be as high. It's the fact that gold sits around and you can't move it as much that gives it a lot of its value. That's why silver is used more of an industrial metal than gold is. And that's why it's cheaper. Because in order to use it as an industrial metal, now you have supply chains. Now you have demand kind of networks where you're going to sell it to distributors, you're going to sell it here. For gold, there's a pretty consistent flow, but it's also being held by central banks, private funds, family offices. And if it's off the market, then the value just it has this like kind of magic to it, where the value just goes up. Now, if there's only 21 million Bitcoins, if every millionaire in America wanted their own Bitcoin, they couldn't have one. There's a demand there. You understand what I'm saying? And so its inability to be a currency, because it's hard and kind of like a big lump kind of move around, even though it's really not. But compared to other cryptos, it kind of feels like that. it's way better for a store of value, something to hold your wealth over time, as opposed to being a unit of measure or a medium of exchange. Money is three things. Money is a medium of exchange. And so I can, like, this currency represents 13 goats, but I can't bring my 13 goats around and try to sell them, and you can't bring your 4 sheep. And so what we'll do is we'll carry this currency. It's a medium of exchange to represent this barter of labor and services. The second one is going to be a unit of account, which is something that we use to measure stuff. You go to the grocery store, it says $15. So the dollars is not just a medium of exchange, this currency that you use to pay at the register. It's also the measure system that we use to price things on the global market. Most global goods are priced in US dollars, specifically oil and some of the more important sort of like global trade things that we all agree on. Gold is priced in dollars, Bitcoin is priced in dollars, and oil is priced in dollars. Okay? And then you have a storehouse of wealth or a store of value, which means that it's supposed to basically like store your current scoreboard of how much money you have or what you are worth day in and day out. So I wake up tomorrow and it's not like one of my sheep is missing and like my money is worth something else. It's supposed to store my wealth. It's supposed to be something that I can rely on, that over time it'll be worth the same thing it's supposed to be worth. So if you look at the dollar's unit of account, medium of exchange, it sure as fuck is not a store of value because it loses money every year. Gold, you can't really spend it. So it's not really a medium of exchange anymore. Is it a unit of account? Kind of. You can actually price the stock market in gold and get a much more accurate read on how it's been performing. It's actually been flat over the last 15, 20 years, right? If you price it in dollars, it's been a straight hockey line up. So when you do that, you realize that the stock market hasn't really gotten that much better, but the value of the dollar has crashed. But now, is the dollar a storehouse of value? No. Is the gold a storehouse of wealth? Yes. So money has to have all three of these qualities. That's what Bitcoin does. That's why it's a superior money than everything else. That's my tip in the hat. Anyways, we called this shit. And then we were vindicated. We were vindicated. All right. Price sitting right at that entry zone for a double bottom. Oh my. Who here is going to take a second entry? Because I will. I'm going to let Jerome Powell say that we print money while I take this. Actually, I'm going to sit out on this trade because I already made my money for the day. I got to exercise discipline. But pretty good re-entry zone right here for a scalp back up to the top of this box. Boxes, people. Boxes, boxes, boxes. All right, I'll take a paper trade here just to make myself feel better about the itch. Okay, cool. Let's hear Jerome Powell say we print money.
We print it digitally. So we another way to think about it.
Simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money.
Sorry, guys. I keep laughing over it. I'm going to let it fully play.
Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
They print money.
Yes.
Now we all know this now, like the money printer memes and all this stuff. You guys are welcome. We crawled so you guys could run. Now everybody knows the money printer memes, money printer go bird. Like this all came from this one interview. I would argue with the economists. Like I was chart addicts guy on Twitter arguing with like top economists when they were talking about quantitative easing was the only way to introduce money through open market operations. The Fed has to actually have money, and then they have to buy real assets in order to introduce money into the system. This is how it's supposed to work. Like they come in and give a hand to the market, and they basically buy up all of these distressed assets, or they supposed to only buy quality assets, but they ended up buying everything from mortgage-backed securities to just really shitty packages of debt. They just bought all this shit. That's quantitative easing versus open market operations. It's not the same thing. You're not buying responsible stuff with the dollar to try to help the market out by introducing liquidity. You're buying dumbass shit from the market that they fucked up on and scammed, and they thought they could make a quick buck, and it turns out they can't. Now, on the flip side, the real scam is that the Treasury is broke. That's the piggy bank of America. That's like our wallet, right? Then you have the Fed over here, and they don't really have any like real money. So the Treasury creates Treasury bonds out of thin air. These are instruments that you can sell to the open market and come up with some quick cash, right? And then the Fed can create money out of thin air, and then they just trade with each other. So you buy government debt, you're buying your own debt, and then the Treasury gets a shit ton of fucking money from the Fed that they have to pay back. And they just both invented out of thin air and then trade. And they've been doing that. That's why prices are so high. That's why, you know what I'm saying? That's why G-Wagon's 200 grand. People, I remember the days where I thought I could get a G-Wagon for 90K or a Rolex. And they inflated it. Money printing. I'm going to play this one more time.
Simply flooded the system with money.
All right. I'm pretty glad I didn't take this trade live. That's why discipline comes in handy. Paper trade. Way smarter. When you've already made money for the day and you get that itch, there are ways to get rid of the itch. Number one is walk away, but I'm on a live stream. So instead of walking away, I'm paper trading, and that way, or simulated trading. That way I don't give the money back. And I'm glad I did, because of situations like this. Now, the real test comes from when you enter a sim trade and not a live trade, and then the market booms in your favor. And you're like, fuck, I should have entered the trade live. This obviously it's a lot easier for me to deal with. I'm patting myself on the back or whatever, but it is what it is, because if the market had gone up, would I be feeling the same way? Yes, cold-blooded. But it is pretty hard.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally. And we do that by buying treasury bills or.
They just enter zeros in the database. You literally go backspace in the Excel sheet. Then you go 0, 0. And then when you go to credit all the commercial banks in their account, it says 500 million. You just add a zero, boom, 5 billion. 5 billion, 5 billion, 5 billion, 5 billion. Let's go. Let's run the game. Now the banks are out there lending all this money out and money creation, and now real money's coming back into the system, and it works. But for fuck's sake, we have the power to create money digitally. All right, everybody. That's our live stream for today. Appreciate you guys sticking along. We made money. We got hit and break even. Now we're headed down to the higher time frame buying zone that we were looking at earlier this week, which is going to be down here. I gave you guys that trick of the A to B, C to D relationship, which will put us right at that higher time frame buy level. And then ideally, we can also get a sell at this higher time frame 21,600 daily 88.6. Sultan said, thanks, Roy. I always enjoy the lives, and I appreciate you hopping on. Every single last one of you guys that actually gives a fuck about this, that wants to be smarter than all these retards walking around. I'm not talking about the average person who's just too busy, too focused on their own problems to care. I'm talking about the people that pretend to be experts in this shit, and they're just feeding us lies all day. I want you guys to be equipped with the right information. I know the shit's not sexy. I know I'm all over the place, but for fuck's sake, this is real. And if you at least have a hope of becoming successfully financially, and then on one step above, if any of you guys actually are sick enough to think of yourself to be massively successful financially, very, very successful, you got to know how the geopolitical game works. You got to know how to move your money around, where to put it, where's the safe spots, so you can have a good 15, 20, 30 years of having your money in the right places. Otherwise, you're going to be left to the device of just listening to these motherfuckers on the news or whatnot, and you're always going to be wondering why you're one step behind. So equip yourself. Appreciate y'all hopping on these streams. Hit like and subscribe, and for fuck's sake, tell a friend. I'll see you guys on the webinar tonight. Take it easy. Peace. I remember